What if I told you that the map of our world is a lie? That, for centuries, the most powerful nations on Earth have signed a blood oath of silence to guard a continent that shouldn't exist. Beneath 2 miles of ancient, suffocating ice lies a secret so massive it could rewrite every history book, topple every religion, and prove that we are not the first masters of this planet. We are taught it's a barren wasteland of snow, but the satellites are seeing things they can't explain. Perfect pyramids, massive geometric hangars, and heat signatures from cities that haven't seen the sun in 14 million years. From admiral birds, terrifying warnings of flying craft to the chilling legends of the giant, pale guardians that patrol the frost, Antarctica isn't just a continent. It is Earth's final, forbidden Voltand. The lock is finally starting to break. Imagine, for a moment, standing at the very bottom of the world, where the wind doesn't just blow its screams. You are surrounded by a white silence so profound it feels heavy, standing on a sheet of ice that has frozen the secrets of millions of years into a tomb. We are taught that Antarctica is a barren wasteland, a geographic afterthought at the edge of our maps. But what if everything we've been told is merely a cover story? What if the most isolated place on Earth is actually a doorway to a history we aren't supposed to remember? Deep beneath the crushing weight of the polar cap lie structures, fossils, and anomalies that threaten to tear up our history books and start again from page 1. For centuries, this was nothing but a blank space on ancient charts. An untouched world twice the size of Australia. It holds 90% of the planet's ice. Yet, as our technology peers through that frozen veil, the silence is beginning to break. From satellite images, capturing shapes far too perfect to be natural, to whispers of forbidden research zones that no civilian is allowed to approach, Antarctica has become much more than a land of snow. It is Earth's only forbidden continent. And today, we are going to peel back the layers of frost to see what is truly hiding in the dark. The mystery truly began to peak in 2016, when a series of satellite passes over the mountains caught something that sent shockwaves through the independent research community. Nestled among the jagged, natural peaks was a single formation that defied logic. It possessed 4 sharp, distinct faces and a pointed apex that, from a bird's eye view, looked uncannily like the Great Pyramid of Giza. Standing at over 4,000 feet tall, this geometric marvel sparked an immediate firestorm of debate. Now, mainstream geologists are quick to label this a nunatak, essentially just a mountain peak poking through the ice crust. They'll tell you that millions of years of freeze-thaw weathering, where water gets into cracks, freezes, and expands, eventually chiseled the stone into this triangular shape. They point to the Matterhorn in the Swiss Alps as a natural comparison. But here's the sticking point: the symmetry. Most natural peaks have 1 or 2 flat sides, but this Antarctic formation appears to have 4 near-perfect faces aligned with precision. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? If we see similar designs in Egypt, Mexico, and parallel sharing that sloping, 4-sided powers, it really a stretch to think they all drew from a much older, singular source that once thrived right here before the world turned to ice. As we look closer at these satellite feeds, the anomalies only multiply. In various remote sectors, researchers have spotted what looked like massive, rectangular openings carved directly into the rock faces. One of the most famous is a dark, geometric void in East Antarctica that looks less like a cave and more like a hangar door. It is perfectly straight, shadowed, and estimated to be large enough to fly a full-sized aircraft through. Scientists suggest these are just gaps formed by moving glaciers or shifting snow. But the sheer cleanliness of the lines makes one feel a bit uneasy. And then there are the staircases. On one of the southernmost islands, a series of dark, horizontal ridges rise up a slope in perfect, even increments. Nature doesn't usually do steps this neatly. Could these be the crumbling remains of a prehistoric monument? Or perhaps the entrance to something far deeper? The most frustrating part for any curious mind is that we can't just hop on a plane and check. International regulations and the brutal climate make large-scale, independent exploration virtually impossible. We are left watching from above, seeing shapes appear after a storm only to be swallowed by the snow again a year later. But we know for a fact that Antarctica wasn't always this white desert. Scientific evidence now paints a picture of a lush, green paradise that existed long before the first snowflake fell, in 1912. Captain Robert Falk and Scott's doomed expedition found something remarkable near the South Pole: fossilized leaves from beech trees. Since then, we've found entire petrified forests, some with trees standing 7 meters tall, still rooted in the ancient soil. Imagine Antarctica, with meandering rivers, wetlands, and a temperate climate reaching 21 degrees Celsius. This wasn't some brief flash of warmth. These forests thrived for millions of years. This leads to a massive, logical question that most historians want to avoid. If the continent was green and habitable for so long, is it really impossible that an early civilization lived there? The mainstream view says humans have only been around for about 300,000 years, while the ice has been there for 14 million. But then you look at the Piri Reis map from 1513. This Turkish map shows the coastline of a southern continent with incredible accuracy, not as it looks today under the ice, but as it looks without the ice. How could a map from the 1500s show a subglacial coastline that we only discovered with modern sonar in the 20th century? It suggests that someone thousands of years ago mapped that land while it was still clear of frost. The transformation of this land from a forest to a wasteland might not have been a slow crawl either. Some theorists point to crustal displacement, a terrifying idea where the entire outer shell of the Earth shifts rapidly, throwing continents into entirely new climate zones. If the South Pole wasn't always the South Pole, it would explain why we find tropical fossils in a place that is now minus 60 degrees. Even the sleeping prophet, Edgar Cayce, predicted that the Earth's axis would shift and that Antarctica would eventually become fertile and inhabited again. He spoke of a time when the melting ice would reveal the ruins of a lost civilization that was wiped out in an instant when the poles moved. Could the ice be a giant storage locker for a forgotten chapter of the human story? When we go even deeper literally, we find the subglacial lakes. There are over 400 bodies of liquid water trapped miles beneath the ice, completely sealed off from the world for up to 25 million years. Lake Vostok is the giant among them. A freshwater sea, the size of Lake Ontario, kept liquid by the heat of the Earth's core. When Russian teams finally drilled into it in 2012, they found life. Microorganisms were thriving in total darkness under crushing pressure, in an ecosystem that hasn't seen the sun since the dinosaurs. If bacteria can survive there, what else is swimming in those dark, prehistoric waters? We've already seen giant sea spiders and octopuses thriving under collapsed ice shelves in places where no light ever reaches. It seems the dead continent is teeming with life we can barely comprehend. And then there is the Blood Falls. Imagine a 5-story waterfall of vivid crimson red pouring out of a white glacier like a bleeding wound. It's a haunting sight that looks like something out of a horror film. Science tells us it's just iron-rich, saltwater rusting as it hits the air. But the fact that this water comes from an ancient, trapped reservoir 5 million years old adds to the It proves that there are hidden systems, hidden pockets of elsewhere, tucked away beneath the surface. It's no wonder that legends of strange creatures, like the Ningen, exist. Japanese researchers have reported seeing massive 30-meter-long humanoid beings with pale, blubbery skin and human-like faces rising from the icy waters. Some say it's just a new species of whale, but others believe it's a guardian of the deep. This brings us to the most unsettling part of the Antarctic story, the feeling that we are being watched. Even legendary explorers like Sir Ernest Shackleton reported the third man factor, the distinct sensation of an invisible presence walking alongside them in the snow. There are older, darker tales too, like the ghost ship Jenny, found in 1840, frozen solid in the ice with its crew still at their stations, perfectly preserved by the cold, with a final log entry from 17 years earlier saying they had run out of food. It's as if the continent itself wants to keep what it finds. Since the late 1940s, following Admiral Byrd's massive military mission, Operation High Jump, the secrecy has only tightened. Byrd spoke of a land beyond the pole and warned of craft that could fly from pole to pole at incredible speeds. Since then, we've had the Antarctic Treaty, signed by the world's most powerful nations during the height of the Cold War. Why did enemies, like the US and the Soviets, suddenly agree to play nice in the snow? Some believe they encountered something, the guardians of the ice, and realized they had to cooperate to keep the secret. We see high-ranking officials like John Kerry or Buzz Aldrin making sudden, unexplained trips to the ice, followed by cryptic social media posts or sudden evacuations. Is Antarctica the new Area 51? Between the rumors of secret Nazi bases like Base 211 and modern whistleblowers describing glowing structures and no-fly zones, the evidence is mounting. We see blurred-out sections on Google Earth and hear stories from pilots being escorted away by glowing orbs. It's a place of silence, science, and deep suspicion. Whether it's ancient pyramids, alien hangars, or prehistoric forests, one thing is certain: the ice is melting, and the truth won't stay frozen forever. What do you think is waiting for us at the bottom of the world? Is it a graveyard of a lost world, or a base for a new one? If this journey into the frost has opened your eyes, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the unknown. Stay curious, keep watching the horizon, and we'll see you in the next one as the sun dips below the horizon for a 6-month-long night. We are left staring at a continent that refuses to be ignored. We've looked at the geometric peaks of the Ellsworth Mountains, the red veins of Blood Falls, and the high-tech silence of restricted zones that don't appear on any civilian map. Whether you believe Antarctica is a tomb for a prehistoric civilization like Atlantis, a modern-day Area 51, hidden under a mile of ice, or simply a geological miracle that we are only just beginning to understand, one thing is undeniable. The veil is thinning. The ice that has acted as a multi-million-year security vault is retreating. And with every inch of melt, a piece of our true history is being liberated from the frost. Perhaps the real reason for the strict treaties and the no-fly zones isn't just to protect the penguins or the purity of the snow. Maybe it's because the powers that be realized long ago that the world wasn't ready for what lies beneath. If there really are guardians at the edge of the world, they've done a brilliant job of keeping us at bay for decades. But as our satellites get sharper and our curiosity grows bolder, the great unknown is starting to speak. We are the generation that might finally see the doors to those subglacial hangars swing open, or find the fossils of a humanity that existed before the stars even aligned as they do today. So, next time you look at a globe and see that massive white void at the bottom, don't see it as a wasteland. See it as the ultimate puzzle box, waiting for the right moment to click open. Is it a graveyard, a sanctuary, or a laboratory for a species that isn't us? The evidence is there, frozen in time, and the thaw has already begun. If this deep dive into the world's most forbidden land has sparked a fire in your mind, let us know your wildest theory in the comments. Below it, aliens, ancient humans, or something far more terrestrial but just as shocking. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to join us on our next expedition into the shadows of our world. Keep your eyes on the ice and your mind wide open. Until next time. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.